Maryland. Merlin. Welcome back to my channel. Today I figured we would go over a few women yelling at cat memes that involved Maryland. And to give you all a perspective, especially if you're outside the US and you don't get some of this. Or you're from the United States and you still don't get it. So, with the first meme, it's like, it's Maryland or Maryland, and we're like, cat's like, Merlin. Here's the thing. We don't say it like the way we would say Arthur's sorcerer friend. We don't say it like Merlin. We say it almost like, put it this way. It's like a competition to see how fast you can say Maryland. And if you say Maryland very quickly, you're going to end up saying Maryland. And the thing that to put in perspective, and it may be a little bit difficult to really put it in words because I really don't think about it because I was born and raised there, and that's how everyone else who lives there say it. But it's almost like you would say this part, Mary, as in Mary, not like, almost like how you would say Merry Christmas. Except you would almost say it like a very short version of that at the same time, like Mary. Almost like ignoring the Y in a way. And then saying land as land. And it's almost like an old-fashioned way that the British used to say land. Because while the way they pronounce stuff is not exactly 100% the same way that we pronounce stuff. So it's almost like an old-fashioned pronunciation of land, which is land, you know? So you would say Maryland rather than Maryland. So, but the way we say it sounds like we're trying to say Merlin, but not really. Just like Merlin, that kind of way. So, next meme. I probably said that wrong. Next meme. Maryland. It's the North. It's the South. Oh my God. It's neither. Okay. Let me give you all a background perspective and stuff. Okay. Now, a lot of people outside of Maryland have various opinions about how they see Maryland. Now, most people who live in the northern states see Maryland as a southern state, and most southern states, especially the south, the more south you go, tend to see us more as northern. Now, geologically speaking, nope, I think I said that wrong too. Geographical rise, we're considered to be south according to the U.S. Federal Census Bureau. We are technically a southern state, but we are more of the northern of the southern states. The big debate, though, is not where we are it's not where we are geographical wise. It's more like what we are culture-wise. Now, a lot of this stems from attitudes during the Civil War that continue to bleed out till this day and age for some strange reason. Now, part of the reason why a lot of Marylanders don't consider themselves to be northern or southern is because during the Civil War, we were a border state. Basically, we were a slave-owning state, but we weren't part of this Confederacy. We were part of the Union, mainly because we were court-martialed into not leaving the Union. In other words, if you tried to leave the Union, our state would have been in big trouble. And actually, it was a strategical move because Maryland does border Washington, D.C. In fact, D.C., the land that it stands on, used to be a part of Maryland. Maryland sold it so you can have the national capital. So that's a major reason why Maryland was prevented from leaving the Union. And even if you didn't have that, half the Marylanders were pro-Union, and the other half were pro-Confederate. Now, when I looked up the statistics, about 25,000 Marylanders did fight for the Confederacy, but 60,000 fought for the Union. So, more Marylanders were sympathetic to the Union more than the Confederacy. And parts of Maryland that fought for the Confederacy are basically where all the farms and plantations were, which were in southern Maryland and then on the eastern shore. That's where you have most of your plantations that slaves would have been needed. The problem is half the other state doesn't have farms. It's more of a industrial area, although a lot of people work for the government too. And then you have the military as well. So those tend to fight for the North. So since Marylanders were basically split during the Civil War, even though the majority fought for the North, and we were a border state because we were court-martialed from leaving the Union, a lot of Marylanders nowadays basically have the same attitude that we're not really northern or southern, we're just in between. A lot of us would like to think of ourselves as just simply mid-Atlantic rather than south or north because what is with me in that word today? Other than geographically being dead center in the middle of the United States on the eastern shore, we just feel like we're too much of both to really call ourselves north or south. So a lot of people, especially outside of Maryland, are like, you guys are northern, or you guys are southern because of where you are. And it's like, no. No. And I mean, a lot of Marylanders don't consider ourselves to be southern that much. It actually depends where you live, though. Because even this day and age, you have Marylanders that think they're southern, especially if they live in southern Maryland and the eastern shore. Then you have Marylanders that live in western Maryland and the counties that border the Pennsylvania and the New Jersey and the Delaware lines where they think they're northern. Then you have people like me who's from central Maryland, which is where D.C. would be near. Like the Washington metropolitan area, which consists of Montgomery County, and Prince George's County, and I think there's one or two other counties that border it. But anyway, we're central Maryland, and we don't really think of ourselves as being either. And I think that a lot of people that live in, because most of the popular or the populous counties in Maryland are in central Maryland. So a lot of Marylanders' attitudes are in that area, and most of us think, no, we're not neither. So that's where that debate comes from. And I think, personally, and I don't want to say this doesn't offend anybody really, but a lot of Marylanders these days are, when you think of Maryland, and you're not from Maryland or whatnot, but you're from, like, the northern states. Some people are like, oh, the South, they're so uneducated, they're so racist, they're so rednecks and stuff. And I think a lot of Marylanders hate that because we don't see ourselves as that. Yes, Maryland was a slave-owning state, but the majority of Marylanders did not own slaves. Because, like I said, most of the farms were in southern Maryland and the eastern shore. Most everywhere else is either industrial, people work for the government, people work for the military, or they worked on the water. We have the Chesapeake Bay where people were watermen, where they fished, where they did oysters, where they crabbed. So, because of that, a lot of people in Maryland don't like to be associated with the typical stereotypes that the North developed about the South. And especially since Maryland isn't that South to begin with. Yes, again, geological wise, why do I keep saying that? geographically wise, we are south, but we're not deep south. We're not part of, I don't really know how to finish that. Just know that a lot of us don't consider ourselves to be south, but we don't also consider ourselves to be north, because there is southern culture. Despite things, we do have a southern culture in Maryland. We love sweet tea. We have biscuits and gravy. And, we have some southern cuisine just as much as northern cuisine. We have some customs that are northern just as much as southern. And yes, we have a southern accent, which my significant other loves to point out to me, even though I don't hear it. But we do have an accent all of ourselves, which, we say some words quite weird, like radiator and oil and ambulance and all this other stuff, but we don't consider ourselves to be northern or southern, although there are Marylanders who do think of themselves either as north or south, but again, it depends where you live in Maryland. Most Marylanders who live in central Maryland don't consider ourselves to be neither, okay? So, having said that, and that was a very long rant, last one, and it's not very a major one, but it's the only other Maryland woman yelling at cat Maryland associated meme I can find. Shall we go to this one? The DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Now, there is an area called Delmarva. I probably said that so wrong. Let me repeat that. Delmarva. There's a peninsula that where Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware all converge at. And there's actually a town called Delmarva too, with the same issue. So that's what people are thinking of, but it's mostly like in that area of Maryland rather than in all of Maryland all in itself. So, yeah. So, this is my review and reactions to these memes involving Maryland, and to give you guys a perspective and understanding where it's all coming from. So, if you like this video, hit like. If you subscribe, I'd be delighted. And if you're from Maryland yourself, what do you consider Maryland to be? North, south, or both? Or the secret option I use is mid-Atlantic. What do you think about Maryland being north and south if you live outside of Maryland? Oh, excuse me, y'all. So that's about it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.